Repent. Never!
Hello, my name's Stuart, the Unrepentant Atheist. Thank you for tuning into my channel. And today's video is going to be the review of the debate between Matt Dillahunty and Stuart Knechtle, I think it's pronounced. So the title of the debate is Strong Evidence for God. Now, obviously we all know about Matt. Stuart Knechtle is a pastor. He also describes himself as an unqualified psychotherapist, which I've sort of found quite interesting. I guess that he's doing some kind of counseling work. And so yeah, the actual debate itself started off with each participant giving a 10-minute presentation. And I won't go through what Matt said. He went second, but you can imagine that he more or less starts in the same manner each time, and basically rules out the existence of God because of lack of evidence. And but as for Stuart Knechtle, so he cites two big reasons, quite wisely, I think, because I did a review of a debate I think last week where we had the theist literally shooting out one proof after another in 10 minutes and went through virtually the entire repertoire of arguments for the existence of God. And I don't like that kind of thing, but I did like the way that Stuart addressed this debate in the first 10 minutes with his presentation, and he narrowed it down to cosmic wonder and perceived design. So he says that he has a tough time accepting that this wonderful universe and all the life in it could have come about sheerly by natural means. So, well, I suppose that's like but it is argument from incredulity. You see something which seems so amazing you can't think of an explanation for it, or and you invoke an explanation, and in his case God did it. So that's fair enough. We've heard that before. There's nothing too controversial about it, and it's quite a predictable one really, although I must say that not many of the apologists will actually articulate it like that, I just can't believe that it's just such an amazing universe that we've got, and life and everything. I'm so awestruck, I just can't imagine that it could have come about purely by natural means. There's obviously argument from incredulity, and there are a few apologists that would take that route, but actually this guy is very open and very honest with the way that he does things. And if that's his reason, I mean, why pick up a strategy? If that's why he believes, then let him say it, and he does say it quite openly. It's quite refreshing. I'll come on to that in a moment about this this apologist, because so far I've seen people like William Lane Craig, Saitan Bruggencate, and Mike Licona. I don't like any of them, but actually this guy I actually like as a person, and as an apologist as well, because he seems quite honest with the way that he's putting across his views, maybe knowing full well that he's engaged in fallacies, but if that's what appeals to him and that's why he believes, then why not? Yeah, so he says he has a tough time accepting naturalism. Of course, as we all know, just because you find something unpalatable, it doesn't mean that what you want to believe is actually true, of course. So he appeals to quite a few of the things that many theists appeal to, like obviously whatever he basically goes to the cosmological argument. Whatever begins to exist must have had a cause, in so many words. And then he moves on to something which I've not really heard apologists using, this need of gratitude, that he sees for him a wonderful creation manifesting in which he is happy, and the the amazing phenomena of life and the cosmos, and he feels this need for gratitude, and it makes more sense to him that there is a God there to be the recipient of that gratitude. So that's part of his argument. Yeah, I've made some notes here. I've just written down some phrases that he used. So God must be outside of space and time. God must be an uncaused cause, and he must be personal. Now, he doesn't really go into that, why he must be personal. I suppose that if God is going to be the recipient of all this adulation, worship, and gratitude that Stuart feels a very strong need to direct, then I suppose it must have to be personal in his conception of what God is, because if it's impersonal, then it couldn't really appreciate properly that gratitude. So I can see where he's coming from with that. Okay, so then yeah, he goes on to fine-tuning, and he mentions a scholar at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, contributed an article to the MIT magazine, and what's his name? Alan Lightman. Professor Alan Lightman says in this article that fine-tuning, the way that all the constants are set up, is so incredibly unlikely that you either have to have a faith and belief in God, that God fine-tuned the universe towards supporting human life in the universe, or you've got to take a step of faith to believe that there's no God. Well, I suppose that's like a kind of false dichotomy, really, isn't it? And it's also sort of shifting the burden of proof. Whichever way you look at it, it is shifting the burden of proof, because, as I think most of us atheists feel, that the burden of proof is not on us to prove that there is no God. So there's no question of having faith that there's no God. We're not saying, or at least most of us are not saying there's no God. We're just saying that we lack a belief in a God, so that wouldn't really apply. And even people who say, even atheists that say there is no God, they assert that there's no God, although they're putting the burden of proof on themselves, and diverting attention away from what a theist has got to prove. On the other hand, I always think that atheists have got a better case for saying there's no God than theists have got a case for saying there is a God, because obviously I know that they say that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, but as Matt has said, in cases where you might expect there to be evidence, in other words, if there's an all-powerful creator, you might expect there to be some kind of evidence, and because there hasn't really been any proper evidence, you might be justified in saying that there is no God, in the same way that there's no real good strong evidence for Santa Claus. And if we say there's no Santa Claus, people are not going to come and say, well, you prove that claim, you prove that there's no Santa Claus. But with God, if you say to a theist, there's no God, obviously the theist will shift the burden of proof immediately. You say, right, prove your claim. So I tend not to do it. I personally believe that there are no gods. I can't assert that there are no gods and be certain about that, but I do believe, in fact, that there are no gods. But I don't really feel like I've got a burden of proof to back that up, except to say that because there's absolutely no evidence for a God, there's not only no reason not to believe, there's not only no reason to believe in a God, but there are actually fairly good reasons, in the absence of that evidence, for believing that in fact there are no gods, in the same way that there's good reason for believing there's no Santa Claus. Yeah, so Alan Lightman has made that statement and is obviously a theist on that basis because of the fine-tuning argument. Yeah, as well, faith in impossible odds again. I've been through a lot of this with the fine-tuning argument before, and obviously Matt deals with it as well, so I don't really want to go over that. Oh yeah, so yeah, this thing about the multiverse. Yeah, so I feel that Alan Lightman, in his article, as related by Stuart Knechtle, is saying that physicists realize that the fine-tuning of the universe is so implausible by the laws of probability that they've invoked a multiverse thesis as a way of dealing with it, because there's no other way to account for how this universe can be fine-tuned unless you posit the existence of millions of universes, so that by sheer chance, out of 1 million universes or 10 million universes, one could have exactly the right conditions. So I don't think that, I think that he's making more of this really than he's justified. I don't think that many physicists have problems dealing with a naturalistic universe. In other words, there's no prime mover, there's no supernatural cause or anything, and that everything came about by natural causes. Without there being a multiverse, I don't think the majority of physicists probably have a problem accepting that that is the case without having to invoke multiverse. Multiverse just happens to be a theory which is out there and it's been suggested. As far as I understand, if you disagree with me that physicists really are relying on multiverse to get them out of this fine-tuning conundrum, please leave a comment below with some sort of something to back that up. So that's about it really. All to say about Stuart. As for Matt, I think he detected fairly quickly. He perceived very quickly that Stuart was quite a kind of honest interlocutor and debater. He wasn't using any sneaky kind of presuppositionalist arguments, trying to debunk atheist reason. Before we even get started, he wasn't using any sneaky tricks like that, and just saying, well, how do you know that? How do you know that? How do you know that? A bit like Sire was doing. So he was quite honest. He put forward his arguments, which in a way were quite sort of naive, but he's a very likable person. As Matt was saying, I like you, and it's quite refreshing to get this, to get Christians who are not kind of obnoxious and egotistical and, as I said, condescending, like William Lane Craig, and most of them actually. I've not really come across too many who are quite reasonable like this guy. As for Matt, he dealt with him quite fairly. He went through his normal spiel that that the Bible's not reliable. The scientific arguments are not the scientific justification for God is not really sound. The cosmological argument doesn't really get as far, and he just went through his normal kind of stuff, and they had quite a nice kind of fairly friendly discussion, and Matt was being fairly kind on him, I thought, quite without kind of, he wasn't putting him down at all, or he didn't go into kind of bulldog mode, which he could do, and it was quite a nice discussion. So nothing more to say about it really. It lasted quite a long time really, over 2 hours. There were questions at the end, but nothing really new came out of those questions, so I won't really go through those. But I'll put a link below, and you can watch the debate if you want, and tell me what you thought of it, or if you've already seen it, let me know whether you agree with my comments. But anyway, that's all for now, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for watching this production. I do this purely out of enthusiasm for the subject, and will never ask for any contributions via Patreon or any other method. But if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, subscribing won't cost you a penny, and will keep you up to date on my latest talks. Thank you.